Hey there everybody, Aaron here. Welcome to another episode of Gideon's Tactical. Today we're checking out the Puma Knives USA Coyote with stag handles. This is a hunting knife that has been designed by Puma Knives, and this is produced and everything is made in Germany and then sent over to China for assembly. That's how they kind of cut down on costs, and then sold here in the US. So we're going to test that out today. We're going to see how the assembly of the knife being assembled in China, how the fit and finish holds up, and then how the production of this German-made 440A steel really holds up to a lot of abuse, and how the edge retention is in this modern day with these modern stainless steels that we know of, like 154 CM and AUS 8 and 440C, how this 440A is going to hold up with edge retention and quality. So we'll test that out today. Guys, I'm not a hunter per se, so I'm not going to be able to skin any game or clean any game with this, but I am going to put this up not only against cardboard to test the edge, but then we'll do some rope, paracord, we'll do some notching and whittling, and then we'll also be doing lots and lots of food prep up against, chicken and vegetables and meat, so you guys can get a really good feel throughout this video on whether or not this is going to be a good purchase and a good hunting knife for you. So with that being said, let's get to it.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and look at a couple of basic specs here on this Puma knife, this Coyote. Now, this is their SGB line. This is Puma Knife Company USA. So these are, all the parts are made in Germany, and then it's assembled in China. And that's what helps cut down on the cost from being several $100s from the pure German-made models to the ones that are the parts made in Germany then assembled in China. And I got to tell you that the fit and finish is real nice. You're going to get very good quality in the parts that you see here in front of you. It's holding up very well. All the fit and finish is really nice. The bevels were good. All the handle scales are lining up well. There's no issues, even though it's assembled in China and the parts come from Germany. I'm not seeing a lot of issues. They have very good quality control over there with this knife. So the basic specs for us here as we jump on into it is that this is going to weigh 6.1 ounces, so a pretty lightweight blade. And I'm going to bust out the trusty tape measure here, and I'm going to do this in inches for you guys. So the blade length overall from the handle bolster right here all the way to the tip is 3.9 inches, and the actual cutting edge is going to be 3.5 inches. So that's a very good, utility hunting size. It's going to be able to handle a lot of, work for you. Now, the philosophy of this knife is a hunting knife first, and then be able to do a couple utility tasks around your campsite. This is not a survival knife. This is not a bushcraft knife. It's not designed that way. So this is designed to be a hunting blade. The steel is 440A steel in Germany with a really good Rockwell that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The Rockwell is 55, 57, and they do a really good heat treat. I'm going to show you all that here in just a moment. You're going to get a full tank construction all the way through, which is real nice there, with a stock thickness of 0.16, so about 5/32 of an inch thick, so very stout, robust. There it does have a 90-degree spine that will throw sparks, hollow grind with a spear point design there. We got a bolster right here, and then this model has the stag antlers for handle scales. You can also get it with micarta, and that's a big difference there because of the price point. You're paying a lot for these stag handles right here, and we're going to talk about the ergonomics in a moment. But just kind of give you some price point differences here. This model that you see in front of you, the day I'm filming this, I checked on Amazon. You're going to find this for right around 70 bucks shipped. $70 for this German-made, Chinese-assembled blade with the stag handles. Then if you get the micarta version, and we'll talk about the ergonomics and all that in a moment. But if you get the micarta version, everything looks the same except no stag, handles. You're going to get micarta, $30. So $40 difference there in basically the handle scales. Nothing else is different. So just something to kind of think about there when you are purchasing this knife. If you're going to purchase this blade, that you're basically paying $70 or $40 more for the stag handles over the micarta one. So just something to kind of think about there. Definitely the stag looks a lot more classic, 1800s. But the micarta is going to be a much more bigger bang for your buck. So those are just some of the basic specs for us here, guys. Now let's go ahead and start talking about how this blade has performed for me when I put it through its tasks. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the performance, and I'll be running a lot of footage as we're talking here. The 440A steel that this is made out of was a big concern to me. I'm like, I don't know, 440A, particularly at that price point, I've not had good luck with 440A from other companies in the past, particularly from, say, Gerber. I mean, it's a very low quality steel. I'd rather have 420 high carbon most of the time if I am going for that lower budget, or HCR 13 MOV steel is going to, from what I've experienced prior to using this 440A on this knife, as well as on the Deadwood Canyon that we've already reviewed, I was not expecting anything out of this 440A and was really, about to rag on it pretty good. But what I found was I threw this up against cardboard first, and I destroyed some cardboard boxes. I mean, I probably went through probably 30, 40 sheets of cardboard, just going and going and going and going, just cutting. And I was really shocked of how well, with that hollow grind, the bevel that they put on there, and just how the 440A held up. I mean, it held up to that cardboard. What I put this through when it came to cardboard was would have dulled most of my SOG and cold steel knives to the point where I would have to touch them up with a ceramic rod, as well as any HCR 13 MOV steel that I've, and 420 high carbon. So, and it kept on going, and then I was able to shave with it after having done all that work, and it had an extremely fine edge still on it, and I didn't see any sort of dulling. So I was very pleased, very impressed with how this held up with all the cardboard cutting. So then I put it up against a bunch of fruit, did a bunch of fruit and vegetables and meat, and it performs really well, guys. That hollow grind is going to do a really good job with that pretty stout, spine there. So it's going to be able to part not only your vegetables and that type of stuff, but also part your meat, which is what you're going to be using this for, cleaning your game, skinning your game. That it has that perfect hollow grind with the thickness, really kind of splits that flesh and splits the meat, and really gets to a point where you could really clean an animal, or cut through a lot of food, regardless if you're doing food prep around your campsite. Before you go hunting, or you're out there, you've caught your game, you killed it, and now it's time to clean it and process the meat. I was very pleased with that as well. And then I did some minor whittling, carving tasks. Again, this is not a bushcraft knife or a survival knife or anything like that. So I mean, it's going to be able to do some minor stuff. Just make some minor feather sticks, make a spear, that type of stuff. It could handle that. But wood will start to wear the edge. It's not a super steel by any means, but it is holding a very good edge for the steel that we're seeing here. And the good thing also with 440A is that it will also be very easy for you to touch up. It was super easy once it did finally dawn on me with the wood processing. Again, wood is going to probably be the hardest material, and not really what this knife is designed for, and it will dull the knife pretty quickly. Compared to other knives like 1095 high carbon and some of the 440C, some of that stuff. But it was also easy to touch up. So guys, when it comes to the performance of the knife, I was very pleased, very impressed. Did a great job for me, and I have no complaints with the performance on this 440A steel, particularly if you're going to opt for the micarta cheaper version at that price point of around 30 bucks. I mean, that's a steal at the quality of the blade and how it's performing. All right, guys, here's where the rubber really meets the road, and this is where I want to run in another Puma knife that we've already previously reviewed. This is the Deadwood Canyon down here, and this one has bone handle scales. You can get it with micarta, just like you can get micarta on the Coyote as well. And the micarta is always going to bring down the price on these Puma knives and bring up the traction. So I'm always going to recommend, even though these look really classic and they look really cool and they look 1800s, if for actual usability and taking it out there and using these as utility hunting knives, micarta handle scales are always going to be my recommendation to you, because they will give you better traction, and it'll also be a better value at bringing down the price significantly. So the thing that I really want to talk about is that this Coyote up here, just particularly with the ergonomics, is not connecting with me. It doesn't feel good and is not designed well when it comes to those ergonomics. Whereas when we reviewed the Deadwood Canyon, the Deadwood Canyon is really a really nice knife, and it fits a lot better in my hand. And you can see here, the big problem is this hook and how short the length is from the bolster to this hook in comparison to the bolster. There is no hook back here on the Deadwood Canyon. So your hand, when I'm holding the Deadwood Canyon, feels great. I got plenty of room to spare there. Feels very comfortable. This hump doesn't get in the way and splits my index finger from the rest of my hand very well. And just feels great. Whereas, in contrast, the Coyote, this hump is too far back and starts to jam up my fingers. So all three of my fingers back here are trying to jam into this little tiny spot, and this hook really gets in the way. And my pinky just, there's nowhere for it to feel comfortable in my hand. There's hot spots. It's a lot fatter and pudgier. You can see there in the handle construction as well. So it basically comes down to ergonomics, but it also comes down just to the blade shape as well. This is a classic spear point design up here with the Coyote, whereas with the Deadwood Canyon, you got this real nice, it's not a clip, but it's kind of that drop point clip design. You got jimping right here on the Deadwood Canyon, so you're going to get better traction. There's just a lot going for the Deadwood Canyon over the Coyote, and I would recommend the Deadwood Canyon with my car to handle scales over the Coyote any day of the week. Not stoked about this Coyote at all, and really is not a recommendation. I'm not really going to recommend it to you. It's aside from it looking cool with the antler handle scales, there's nothing going for the Coyote, sadly, over the Deadwood Canyon. The Deadwood Canyon is not only going to be a much more good-looking knife, in my opinion, even with the bone or micarta, but also a much more functional knife in the ergonomics. All right, guys, let's go ahead and look at the sheath here for you, just kind of walk you through it. Very simple leather sheath, single stitch all the way across with some studs to keep it in place. Nice big belt loop that's going to be able to fit real nice on most of your belts. And then you got a nice snap with that leather and another rivet there, you know, so it's not, you know, just stitched or something. So good quality there in the overall, how it's designed. Then your blade sits nicely in there, snaps snugly. I like that the handle does not stick above the leather loop right there, you know, start digging into your body or something like that. I like that a lot, and, you know, sits really well. There is definitely some rattle, a lot more rattle than, again, the Puma Deadwood Canyon that we previously reviewed. That one was absolutely silent. This one you are going to get some play just of how it's designed. That other one is friction held. This one is not friction held. You can see the blade kind of plays around and stuff. It'll still be pretty quiet for your hunting trips, but just something to note there. It's not necessarily the most quiet. And then you got a nice snap right there, and you pull your blade out. So, I mean, it'll do the job. I like the sheath on the Deadwood Canyon a lot more. And like I said earlier, I mean, I prefer the Deadwood Canyon way more over this Coyote for sure, just in its overall ergonomics and also in the sheath setup. But this sheath isn't necessarily the worst when it does come to sheath options when you're looking for a hunting knife and you want it to be relatively quiet compared to, say, nylon. Well, guys, it's time for us to wrap up this review for you on this Puma Coyote. And I'm just going to wrap it up. I haven't done, you know, the normal rating scale just because I wanted to change it up a little bit. And I'm just going to give you my overall likability. And if you haven't been able to tell by now, I'll let you know for sure. My likability is very low on this knife. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 is my likability on this knife. And it really just comes down to mostly the ergonomics and just how the whole handle was set up. The blade forward is fine. It does really well. The edge is holding up really nicely. And that 440A, excuse me, has really outperformed my expectations, which is great. But the handle just is not ergonomic, doesn't feel good, and just isn't there for me, guys. So the Puma, Deadwood Canyon that we've previously reviewed is a much better knife in my opinion and better bang for your buck and just a better design. So I would not recommend picking up this blade. Between the two that we've reviewed here, I would definitely look at the Deadwood Canyon as a much better and more enjoyable knife and more ergonomic knife. And I just want to kind of wrap this up with this kind of thought as well. You know, a lot of people, when they see YouTube reviewers like myself and others, you know, they're like, oh, you know, you're just a sellout, or, oh, you know, just because you got a free blade means that, you know, you're giving it a good review. And that's not the case. Puma sent me this knife and the other one. And I gave the other one a good review because it's a pretty good knife. I gave it a good solid 4 out of 5. I am not giving this one a good review because it's not a good knife. I'm always going to be honest with you guys. I'm never going to, you know, point you in a direction that I think a knife would fail on you, or you're not going to be happy with your purchase. Because if I lose my integrity over here at Gideon's Tactical, there's no point in me making these videos. You guys are going to go find other people to trust. My trust for you guys trusting me is much more important than any free gear. Guys, I have more knives and packs and multi-tools than I know what to do with. I don't need any more free gear. I do this channel because I love sharing new products and showing you the products that are out there and pointing you in the right direction so that you don't spend your money poorly. I want you guys to be able to make wise purchasing decisions and go, you know what? I like that handle design and I'm going to go for that. Maybe this Coyote is a perfect knife for you.
it's not for me, and that's why I'm giving it a very low review, guys. So just think about that, and my relationship with you guys, the viewers, is way more important than any relationship that I have with any company. You know, companies, you know, come and go, designs come and go, but you guys are who stay with me and stay true to Gideon's Tactical, and I'm going to stay true to you. So, you know, I hope that this review doesn't ruin my relationship with Puma. It might, and if it does, oh well. I want to be honest with you guys, the viewers, though. So thank you so much, as always, for watching the channel. I really hope that this review, and particularly this last little point here, has really helped you out with your purchasing decisions. As always, remember to like, share, comment, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on not only this Coyote, but the Deadwood Canyon that we previously reviewed, and just the Puma, you know, design in general and the Puma company. And please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all the relevant social media. And as always, remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.